Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today's presenter is Dr. Costa Muleya. He's taking us through the text analysis of the River Between, a text by our own African scholar, Professor Ngungi Wa Nthiogo. Dr. Muleya is a household name in our webinar meetings. He has done a lot of publications in literature, and I don't want to dwell so much into what Dr. Muleya is, because I know we have already his profile, very rich profile. Dr. Muleya, we want to tap from your vast knowledge of literature, in this case, the River Between. Dr. Muleya, sir, you're welcome. Go ahead with your presentation. Over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Chief has already said, we will look at the River Between, text analysis, and we'll dwell so much on analysis. We will not look at the text word by word. And as such, I'll go to the first slide, which is on the characters. So characterization, we have the characters in this post-colonial text. As we know, it's a post-colonial text. It was written by Ngungi in the post-colonial period. So we have Wayaki, the main character there, Joshua, Kavonyi, Mutoni, Kinuthia, Kamau, Mariam, Nyambura, Chege, and Livingstone. These are the main characters, although we have some extras and also some mild characters. Characterization continue. We have Wayaki. Wayaki can be said to be the protagonist of the novel. We are introduced to him as a humble but sensitive lad whose father Chege comes from the lineage of seers. When we talk about Wayaki, we'll see that Chege, the father, is believed to be originating from Gikuyu and Mumbi, the spirits that are controlling this community. And also Mugo wa Kibiro is believed to be the great-grandfather to Chege. His humility can be seen in his respective manner in which he handles Kavonyi's accusations and in the way he associates with his father. One of the outstanding descriptions of Wayaki is about his eyes. There seems to be some magic in his eyes. He is also a good listener. Wayaki drops out of school due to new policy at Syriana School. The school adopts a policy that children whose parents engage in African cultural practices be dropped out of school. We see Wayaki as a diplomatic person when he tries to reconcile the two antagonistic regions, that is Makuyu and Kameno. Joshua is said to have been one of the first people to be converted to Christianity. He is a powerful preacher with unwavering faith in the teachings of the Bible. He cuts links with his traditions and therefore remains alienated from members of his society. He is overzealous in his beliefs and does not entertain anything that goes against the Bible and the word of Livingstone, the missionary. He is a zealot. Joshua even regrets that he took circumcision, as it makes him feel unreasonable. Joshua is, however, stone-hearted. He never feels anything when Mtoni dies, but in any case, he had already excommunicated her from his mind. Joshua is also temperamental. We see him almost beating Wayaki when he comes to report that Christians are in danger of being attacked. Characterization continue with Kavonyi there. Kavonyi and Joshua were the first people to be converted to Christianity. Kabonyi, however, backslides and embraces his tradition once again. He becomes the leader of the Kiama that is interested in the purity of the tribe against foreign values. The Kiama is a collection of elders, those that are, that are concerned with cultural practices. Those in Nigeria, they call it the Ndichi, but in East Africa, it's called the Kiama, made up of people that are championing the cultural practices. Then we have Kabonyi. Okay, Kabonyi is also seen as hypocritical. He cheats that he is fighting for the people when it is clear that he is interested in destroying Wayaki. He is also a demagogue who convinces the people that Wayaki is a traitor. Then we continue with Mtoni. Mtoni is a brave girl. She dares to run away from her father in order to be circumcised. She is also principled. She wishes to strike a middle ground between Christianity and tradition. She is also rebellious. She rebels against her father and opts to be circumcised. She is strong-willed as she accepts to suffer without regret. With Mtoni, this is where we see the climax of the plot. Mtoni, in as much as she embraces the new religion, she also wants to feel that she's a true African woman. So she goes back to her tradition. She flees to Kameno, where her aunt lives, and she takes the rite of circumcision, so that at least, even when she is a Christian, she will be a modern Christian who takes also the tradition with herself. Then we have Kinuthia. Kinuthia is caring and dependable. She's a friend. He's a friend to Wayaki. We see him going out of his way to inform his friend about plans of his adversaries. He has faith in his friend Wayaki. He defends his friend and wishes him the best. He's also insightful. We see him advising Wayaki on delicate things that he seems not to see. We continue with Kamau. Kamau is Kabonyi's son. We see him as being jealous of Wayaki. He considers Wayaki his enemy. This enmity springs from his rivalry with him over Nyambura and his father's influence on him. He's temperamental and self-conceited. He is also evil-minded. We see him as one of those who were going to harm Joshua and his followers. Miriam is the mother to Nyambura. And may I state here that Nyambura means the bringer of rains. Nyambura is, Nya means mother, and Mbura is the rain. So Nyambura means the bringer of rains or the mother of rains. And these names are showing that Joshua, at the time of having these children, was rooted in African tradition, because they all point to the great spirit Gikuyu and Mumbi. So Miriam is the mother to Nyambura and Mutoni, and she is also a wife to Joshua. She is a loving mother who wishes for peace and tranquility within the family. She is obedient and loyal to her husband. She is intelligent. We see her feigning ignorance even when she knows that her husband may be wrong. Nyambura, she is a loving girl who is being excommunicated from her home for the sake of the person she loves, Wayaki. We see her risking dying because of her love for Wayaki. She's obedient to her parents and follows the instruction until she cannot take them anymore, partly because of her love for Wayaki. Chege. Chege is the oldest in the village and believed to be a descendant of Mugo wa Kibiru. Mugo wa Kibiru is a great seer who is believed to have overlived his years, and he was the one that was protecting the Gikuyu community of Kameno and Makuyu. He is believed to be coming from a family of seers and a direct descendant of Mumbi. He is the father to Wayaki. He bestows the privilege of saving the people on his son Wayaki before he dies. Then we have Livingstone. Livingstone is the first missionary who lands in Makuyu and sets up a mission station at Siriana. He is opposed to all African beliefs and traditions. He is in constant antagonism with the Kiama for trying to crush the African culture and traditions. He is a fanatic. This setting, the River Between is set in the 1920s and 1930s in the Gikuyu community in Kenya. This region is where Ngungi was born and raised. The story is about the separation of the two villages, Kameno and Makuyu, in the region as the people struggle over their individual faith and the culture, not cultural, sorry, but in the culture. Analysis. A river flows between the two regions of Kameno and Makuyu in Kenya. The valley is called the Valley of Life, and the river is called Honia or Cure. This is because if you look at this river, cattle, goats, and people drew their water from there. Perhaps that was why it was called Cure. And the Valley of Life, that is what it was, the Valley of Life, because the grazing of these animals was, it was just done in the same valley. But again, there was a belief that when people are circumcised, cold water will make the force now. So they could dip into the Honia River after they are being circumcised. And also, if the girls are being circumcised, they used to do it in the Honia River so that the skin would dry up immediately after they are dipped into the waters. That's why it was called Cure, the Valley of Life. It never dries and is the soul of the two regions. All men, beasts, and trees are united by it. However, if you stand in the valley, the regions look like antagonists because of the way they face each other. There is a sense in which this is a struggle of life and death. If you stand, I think I was privileged to go, this area is around Rimuru in Kenya. So I was privileged to go there, though because of developments and human activities, the area now is no longer the way it used to be. But all the same, with someone explaining to share, analysis continue. Long ago, a man rose in Makuyu. He claimed that, sorry. A man rose in Makuyu and he claimed that Gikuyu and Mumbi sojourned there. So it means leadership belongs to Makuyu. In Kameno, they said Murungu gave them the land and that a sacred spring sprang where they stood. People still paid homage to it. The great Gikuyu seer Mugo wa Kibiru was born there, grew up there, and warned everyone that someday the people with clothes like butterflies would come. We continue with analysis. On the other hand, the people of Kameno believed Murungu gave them the land and that a sacred spring sprang where they stood. After the fight between Kamau and Kinuthia in the plains, the scene shifts to Chege and his son Wayaki. In chapter 3, we are introduced to the Demi Namathathi, who were the giants of the tribe. They used to cut down trees and clear the forest and held communion with ancestral spirits. This is a belief that you find among the Gikuyu, that the Demi Namathathi, they were giants that, that came up among the Gikuyu community. And these were spiritual beings, and they had communion with the ancestral spirits. And most of the people that would become leaders among this community, they would want to show that they are descendants of the Demi Namathathi, so that immediately they are, people pay homage to them. So the boys used to imitate these spiritual giants of the tribe in their wrestling and playing. The clash between the two villages is over the traditional Gikuyu belief system, and the Christianity brought by colonial white settlers. The search for Ngugi's opinion on Christian missions and Christianity can be seen through whom his protagonists and antagonists are and what they stand for. Joshua is the character that epitomizes Christian beliefs, as he is unwavering and uncompromisable about his faith. In an outspoken fashion, he speaks against the ways of the tribe, which can give us insight into the negative feelings that Ngugi has towards Christianity being brought to the villages. Tellingly, the tribe in the river between is not dealing with just the missionaries and educators, but also with the government and its imminent taxation. When one looks at this symbolic evocation of the mythic landscape in which the plot unfolds, one discovers that Ngugi asserts that land serves as the unifying ground for leadership and tradition, as critic Michael Ludon writes. We continue. The tribe's most important ritual, circumcision, is deeply tied to the land in its execution, and the most important gatherings take place in sacred places. Chege relates the prophecy to Wayaki at the sacred grove with the great tree of Murungu, Nyambura, and Wayaki plight their troth at the river. Mtoni is immersed in the river when she speaks of and undergoes circumcision and more. So this is where we see that the area around the river, the valley, had a lot of rituals to this prophecy. Also with Wayaki, it was at the sacred grove. The tree, the great tree of Murungu, Murungu is God, is also in the same plain near the river. Nyambura and Wayaki's plight, they do it in the river. Mthoni is also immersed in the river. So we can tell from this that the river has a significant role to play. The further Wayaki removes himself from the land, and the further he becomes a stranger to it, signifies his failure to achieve the leadership of his people. As the prophecy's mythic power originates from the land, so must its fulfillment speak to the land's sanctity. On the micro scale, Ngugi explores the events surrounding the figure of Wayaki. From the first introduction, the reader is made aware that Wayaki is a young man to be reckoned with and someone who will do great things for the tribe. In chapter 1 to 8, Ngugi develops his main characters and sets in motion the conflicts between them. Ngugi presents two binaries as a panacea for cultural marginalization. These binaries are self and the other. Africans' search for self-identity mediates between these prototypes of self and the other. In literature, when we talk about the other, mostly we are talking about the two opposite, opposite binaries. In gender studies, we are talking about the identity of women. So you find in a patriarchal society, the men are the self, then the women are treated as the other. Now here, we are talking about in post-colonial studies, the white community is the self, and we have the Africans being seen as the other. And this is the concept that Ngugi is trying to bring about. These two binary opposites of self and the other make post-colonial texts like The River Between a relevant tool for analysis with regard to development of the African self and the national identity. It is commonly argued that in post-colonial societies, the Africans are the other than the whites, just like women are the other in patriarchal societies. I've already said this. Joshua is marginalized in the unfolding of the plot. This is due to the fact that cultural hybridity is the panacea for marginalization and subjugation in most post-colonial societies. The intercourse between the two cultures in River Between presents imaginary construction of a new narrative space in which Africans play the formative role. This is in agreement with what Homi Baba observes. Homi Baba says, nations like narratives lose their origins in midst of time, and only fully realize their horizons in the mind's eye. Such an image of the nation or narration might seem impossibly romantic and excessively metaphorical, but it is from these traditions that the nation emerges as a powerful historical idea. This is from Location of Culture from Homi Bhabha, 1994. But this also is in agreement with so many people that have done cultural studies like Mudimbe, V.Y. Mudimbe, in his book, Invasion of Africa, and other scholars, they agree with what Homi Bhabha is talking about here. Of interest in this text is how Ngungi reconstructs identity using these two binary opposites and how they blend together to come up with a typical African identity post-colonization. Unlike Bhabha, who believes in ambivalence, Ngungi in The River Between dramatizes the African and European culture without condemning any. Ngungi proposes the development of an identity that is truly African, using language as a locus for identity. We come to themes. Ngungi protects the themes in the novels very much. We see this by the way he picks his, the novel, if you follow it, is just playing on two binaries, as I've already alluded to. He's just playing on two binaries, the two binary opposites. From there, he picks his themes. We have religion and religious conflicts. This is one of the main themes in the novel. The introduction of Christianity to this community seems to have destabilized the harmony that existed. Prior to this, there was only one religion, Gikuyu religion. Then Ngungi talks about rivalry. Rivalry manifests itself in various ways in the novel. Wayaki is caught between two rival factions, the overbearing zealotry of Joshua, who leads the Christian group in Makuyu, and the hatred and jealous of Kawonyi, who seeks to wrestle the leadership from him. There is also cultural rivalry, European culture versus African culture. We see Nyambura and Wayaki defying odds for love and for their own conviction, much to the displeasure of the entire community. Then the other one is courage. Mton demonstrates very rare courage in the unfolding of the plot, and Wayaki, by overlooking the oath, shows that conviction at times supersedes cultural norms. Then we have tradition versus modernity. This is the recurring theme in the entire novel. Then we come to style. We have soliloquy is the common style Ngungi uses for the character, as we see him move at times in the minds of the characters. The story is written in third-person point of view, and the rest is presented in limited, omniscient perspectives of Wayaki and Nyambura. Then the tone and mood. The tone is optimistic, meditative, sincere, and nervous. The mood is foreboding, tense, and lonely. We continue with the style. Protagonists and the antagonists. We have protagonist Wayaki. Antagonists, we have Joshua and Kawonyi. Though Kawonyi, at one point, he goes back to support the protagonist Wayaki, who he wrestles power from, as we see in the unfolding of the plot. The major conflict, while Wayaki tries to reconcile the two rival religions by providing education, Kawonyi and the elders of his tribe work against his ambition because they want to defend their own interests. The climax. The climax occurs when Wayaki is accused by the people of breaking the oath. He had just made a case for himself and he defended Nyambura. There is a moment where things might seem to go well for him, but then the people turn on him and seal his fate. Then we have the references. I used these books, Matthew Arnold, Anarchy and Culture. Then we have Bhabha, Homi K, Location of Culture, Mudimbe V.Y, Invasion of Culture. Then Ngungi Wa Nthiogo, The River Between. These are the texts that I've used. Chief.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muleya, for the effort put in incubating and hatching such a thrilling and captivating lecture as you tried to
Very
unlock.
much. I didn't even not. I'm now open to the anyone. Okay, anyone? Anyone with a contribution, ladies and gentlemen, you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, and we'll give you room to say something. Like I've always said, when we look at the river between, indeed, it's a very rich and highly symbolic book. It's highly symbolic. Everything about it is symbolic. The river itself, River Honia, when we look at the text style, which Dr. alluded to as well, we see the opening paragraph, the story begins with the river flowing, and indeed the story ends with the river flowing. When we look at that, it's highly symbolic. And when we look at what has gone on really between the two regions, Makuyu and Kameno, conflicting as they are, okay, the river symbolically shows that it's a symbol of antagonism of the two regions. Equally, it is a symbol of reconciliation. I'll talk a little more about reconciliation. When we look at the two antagonistic regions, Makuyu and Kameno, they both reconcile in the river. They both, when we look at the rite of passage, what the Christians call baptism, what the traditionalists call circumcision, these are one and the same thing. These two rituals are conducted in the river. When the traditionalists are conducting the ritual of circumcision, which is a symbol of purification into the tribe, the Christians in Makuyu will go in the river and do the ritual of baptism, which to me indicates that the two are one and the same. So that's about the river, both an antagonistic. Any contribution? Any contribution, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and gentlemen, any contribution? Are people there?
We are present, sir.
Any contributions? Or was the analysis so clear that people cannot see? But even if so, even saying this is good or this is bad is enough.
Maybe the question, Chief, to the presenter.
Okay.
Does Wayaki fulfill the dream of his father, Chege, in this novel? Thank you.
What is the dream?
The dream to save the people of the hills from the people dressed like butterflies. Thank you.
Okay, so has Waiyaki indeed saved the people, in this case the traditionalists, from the people that look like butterflies? Dr. Muleya.
Okay, thank you, Chief. What we see in the unfolding of the story is that before he saves his people, he's betrothed to Nyambura, and he works against his oath. And the Kiama capitalizes on that. You know what happens is in post-colonial societies, we have two types of colonies. We had settler colonies and protectorate colonies. And Kenya became a settler state because Christianity almost triumphed against African tradition. So we don't see Waiyaki fulfilling his father's dreams, but in the end, what we see is that they end up coexisting. The whites and also, the white man's culture and the black man's culture, much to the detriment of the Africans.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Any other contributions?
Maybe one other questions, Chief, to the presenter.
Yes.
Waiyaki, son of Chege, and who is this one fighting him to take leadership of the hills? Is it
Kabonyi?
Kabonyi?
Kabonyi, yes.
Kabonyi.
Kabonyi,
Okay,
yes.
okay. All right, let me take Joshua and Waiyaki.
Yes. Are you there, Doc?
Doc. Hello, Doc. I think we have lost Doc. Anyone else?
From my invisible star. There is a hand there, Chief.
Sorry?
There is a hand. My invisible star is putting the hand up.
Okay. Oh, yes, I've seen the hand. Who is that? My invisible star. My invisible star, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. The Momba Secondary School, Chivombo District. As you read this novel, I've read it 1,000 times. Hello?
Hello, we are getting you.
Hello?
We are getting you.
Okay.
Hello?
As you read this novel, we see that there's a long silence. The people now. Hello?
We are getting you.
Can I continue?
We are getting you.
Okay. As he decides to say something, a woman shouts and says, "The oath." I keep wondering, what is it about Waiyaki could not love Nyambura? What
Come again, repeat yourself.
What is it about the oath that upset the people about Nyambura and Waiyaki being in love? Did the oath refuse them to be in love?
I didn't get the question. It was really breaking. Anyone who got, Doc, did you get the question amplified for us?
Maybe I can do it on behalf of Dr. Muleya.
Yes, maybe you can take that one.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
You are breaking.
Hello, I'm saying I amplify the question. Are you getting me?
Maybe my invisible stuff. I haven't captured the question really. My invisible star, could you repeat the question kindly, please?
Okay, the network is quite bad, though I can hear you very well. I'm saying, what was it about the oath that really upset the people? Hello? Did the oath say anything that Wayaki should not fall in love? Okay, I don't know, but I'm saying the oath did not say that they should not love, like that Wayaki should not love. He just loved a girl. What was wrong with that? What is it about the oath that refused him to be in love with this girl? I don't know if you have understood now.
That's good. James Madison the reception that he deserves. Confidence very much back with him. And also, with a few minutes left, the team falling in love. Casey McAtee at the taste of first team action. Mr. Maxton, he can't his commitment today. He's on trying, gets on going. Richie. Richie's ball came off the Sanya.
Chief, are you there?
I'm getting you myself, but I don't know, Chief.
Yeah, I'm now getting you. I think connectivity is failing me. Are you getting me?
You are getting you now.
Now I'm getting you.
Yeah.
What
so
was your
I've not yet answered.
I haven't
Can
gotten
I
the
go
question.
ahead? The question is
just put me in the loop.
Can I continue?
Yes, Doc, but put me in the loop. What is the question?
The question is the oath that Wayaki took. What has it got to do with the him being with him not marrying the girl? What is the oath?
Doc Monde.
The network had gone. Are we there? Doc, are you there?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Yeah, I was just applying, trying to amplify the question. Was it clear?
Yeah, it was very clear.
Yeah, so the answer, you can pick it from there?
Yeah, I can pick it. Maybe you can just Just respond is fine.
I'm grateful, Doc, for the permission.
Yes.
The oath is between Wayaki and the people of the hills. According to the people of the hills, they have seen Wayaki getting involved in the white man's involvement. He has been to the school in Syriana. He interacts with Livingstone, and Livingstone trusts this boy that he can be a very good missionary. And now he's expelled, he comes back to the hills. So the people of the hills want Wayaki never to defect again and follow the white man's knowledge. This is where now they say, here is an oath. Tell us if you never betray us. Now, about marrying Nyambura, Nyambura is circumcised. Sorry, Nyambura is not circumcised. Wayaki is circumcised. If he marries the girl who is not circumcised, he's spoiling the tradition, and he is betraying the people of the hills. So they mustn't marry. That is my answer to the question. Thank you.
It cannot be better than that.
Doc Muleya.
Yes, or maybe if Wayaki was to marry someone else from.
Are you able to get me? My connection is really for.
We are getting you, Chief.
Okay, indeed, Dr. Monde has elaborated very well. But just to add, in simple terms, these two regions are antagonistic. Whatever goes on in one region is eyes of the other. Reach, okay, and that is you cannot entangle yourself with what goes on in the other reach.
Yes.
Dr. Monde, it's like we have lost the chief again.
I continue.
Yeah, but let me just add something there.
Please continue, sir.
The issue is if Wayaki was going to marry someone who was uncircumcised of the Africa traditional religion, the people of the Kiama would have still supported him. But because he was marrying someone who was from the other side, who was a Christian and circumcised, for them it was a betrayal, as Chief was saying. It was a big betrayal. Yes. They also was, he was supposed, as the leader of the Kiama, you take an oath that you will never marry someone who is a Christian. That was the oath.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And indeed, like I was trying to say, just like what the Bible says, that light and darkness cannot mix. And yes. It is that basis, it's that basis that indeed you take oath that you cannot cross over. You cannot have anything to do. This is what we see even today, okay? This is what we see even today, especially us as Africans, okay? We are told, if you choose to be a Christian, if you are a Christian, then forget about your tradition or traditions and its beliefs, okay? Yeah. So you cannot, if you are a Christian, you'll be told you cannot believe in some of these rituals. You cannot even, it's now that even the naming ceremony has gone back to what it's supposed to be as Africa. You know, we were told you cannot even have those traditional names. You cannot be Musenga if you are in Namwanga, because that is a traditional name. It's a barbaric name. It's a pagan name. Okay. So, yes. And yet, Musenga in Namwanga, it's a very rich name with a lot of meaning. Okay. And it's not just given anyhow. It is given to somebody who is at a time of their birth, the one they followed is already dead and is in the Musenga means the son is already buried. Okay, so when you get such a name and under the new dispensation of Christianity, then you cannot be a Christian. You are not a Christian actually. How can you give such a pagan name? Okay. Equally, the traditionalists would say, no, if you give a name like Abraham, like John, Joshua, with a Christian name, then you are not a traditionalist because that is a Christian name. So there is that antagonistic, hence the oath to say when you belong to this camp, you take oath. It's not just the traditionalists that are taking oath here, even the Christians, okay? You take oath, you take the vows. At baptism, you vow, you take those vows. That is equal to an oath. So when Wayaki now turns out to fall in love and want to marry Nyambura, he's breaking the oath because he's not supposed to marry from the Christian category. He's supposed to marry from the traditional category itself. So there he has broken the oath and is seen to be a betrayer. He's betraying the traditions of the land. I submit.
Oh, thank you, Chief.
There are two hands, Chief. Take care of them.
Any other questions or clarifications?
There are two hands. Acknowledge them.
There are hands. Yes. Yes, I've seen two hands. Let's start with Cynthia Salome Walia. Then Lloyd Mwanza, you follow. Cynthia, your contribution.
Yes, good afternoon, Doc.
Cynthia, unmute yourself and
am I not being heard?
Very clear. You are clear.
Okay. Yes, Doc. I have a question in the same book or novel that we have been discussing, though I came in a bit late. But I have a question about the words of Kinuthia to Wayaki. Your name will be your ruin. I don't know. What name is being referred to? Is it the title of being a teacher or the name himself as the name that Wayaki holds? Thank you.
Thank you. Chief, should I take this one?
I ask that I take it.
Okay, you can take it.
Thank you, Doc. Yeah. The name in question is the fame that Wayaki is gaining as he runs around the people of the hills, establishing schools at a very good speed, and knowing so well that when everyone has gotten the education, then he will manage to fight back the whites. Now, the fame that the writer says, his valor spread like the bushfires in the Hamatan. So it is the fame, not the name Wayaki itself. Thank you.
Okay. But again, just an addition, Madam Walia. Again, you discover that when Wayaki is taken to the hills by the father Chege, they reach a point where Chege, after telling him what he would do, he comes back to him and reminds him the meaning of his name, Wayaki, which is related to the equivalent of savior. So he gives him to say, in Gikuyu, they don't just give names. As I've said, when you say Nyambura Mumbi, I've heard it's also among the Bembas and the spirit Mumbi. So, and unfortunately, we have Mumbi in this house. But however, Wayaki is reminded of his name because it's the equivalent of a savior. So he's reminded to say he's the one who saved these people. But remember, Wayaki is coming from a background where he had also passion for Mthoni. So much that he kept on seeing Mthoni in his dreams and also in his visions. Then when Mthoni is no more, now Nyambura comes. But for Mthoni, it was going to be okay because Mthoni was circumcised. But this one, the one is betrothed to now, is not circumcised. So the savior of the people cannot go with someone who is uncircumcised. As Chief said, don't be yoked with them.
They're believers.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Can take it, Doc. Our Chief is back.
Yes, he is. Chief.
No,
he's off. Eh?
He's off.
Maybe Masa Banda, please, you can contribute. Masa Banda. We have two hands here. Madam Wari has spoken. Now Masa Banda. Masa Banda.
Maybe tell him to unmute himself.
Masa Banda, okay. Please, you can speak now. You are breaking. Masa Banda. Oh, I think he has a problem with the
connectivity.
Connectivity, yes.
Maybe Madam Cynthia wants to amplify the question, or she has lowered the hand.
Madam Cynthia, are you okay? Oh. Okay, let's have any other person as we plan to wind up our discussion. It is now 6 o'clock. Is it 6:05? 6 o'clock.
Oh, Doc, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Please.
Yes, I'm very clear with the explanation that you have given. But I still have a question. Why is
Go
it
ahead.
that him being a savior ruined him? Because as far as I'm concerned, when we look at the way the events that unfolded.
Yes. Connectivity.
At the end, we found was the me. Hello.
We are getting you now.
You are getting me now.
Yes,
I was saying, as far as I'm concerned, his name never ruined him because the only thing I've noted in the novel that brought him down was the love relationship between Nyambura and Wayaki, and that is what the Kiama mostly talked about. They looked at him as a betrayer, but why? I didn't see where this statement is coming from, though I saw it to be one of the the very, very important statement in the novel.
Okay, Doc.
Yes, please, Doc.
We should also, Madam Walia, we should also look at the time that Kinuthia told him that statement. It was because Kinuthia was aware that this guy has been given a prophecy that he will save his people. Now,
Yes.
this time, standing on the other side, where he's, as Doc Monde said, his, his fame was going like a bushfire in the Hamatan. And the observation was that even this guy, the one who is spreading, this Western education like this, he has this thing to do. He has to save his people, so that his name will be his trap, and it will destroy him one time.
Mm-hmm.
The time that he crossed over, if he told him that time, it was going to be a different issue altogether. But he told him when he was still a teacher at Siriano.
Yes. Teach at Maria Sean.
Maria Sean, yes.
Yes. But is Wayaki destroyed? Hello?
Yes, we are getting you.
We are getting you.
Is Wayaki destroyed? Is he defeated in this war?
When I look at it,
through the chief.
When I look at it, it's not a question of being defeated or yes. It's a very, that's a thesis question actually. If is Wayaki defeated, because it's not a, yes, because you can write a thesis about it, saying yes, he was defeated, or saying no, he was not defeated. Because it's not a question of who is the victor, who is victorious, and it's just a question of depending on the side of the coin that you look at it. So yes, he was defeated. No, he was not defeated. I would say so.
Does he marry Nyambura?
The issue is, maybe let me come in where Chief left it.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
This battle is a battle of beliefs.
Yes.
The time you compromise your belief, you are defeated. Now the question that for us to answer that question, did Wayaki compromise his belief? The answer
he was almost.
No, the answer is yes. By being to someone who is not of the same faith. So
gentlemen, I told you this is a first question.
They didn't go on to marry, but however, he compromised his standing.
To which degree?
No, did he compromise? Gentlemen, I'm telling you, this is a very different argument altogether. No, did he compromise? Because look here, this man wants to use Nyambura to reconcile the regions, and that is his goal.
Yes.
Okay? So that is a thesis question, which I'm saying is a very different debate altogether.
Yes.
Because his idea is to reconcile the two, and he knows that the two, there is no need to be fighting because both saying and doing the same thing. These were saying circumcision, these were saying baptism. It's one and the same rite of passage, purification and getting into another level. Okay?
Do we have the common
Wayaki
denominator?
Simply wants to reconcile them. Yes. Sorry?
Now look at this river. To me, with me, in mathematics, that is a common denominator where the people of Maguyu and the people of Ugameno are able to enter without leaving a remainder. Okay? Now, today, in our African society, do we still have things dividing us?
Yeah.
Like River Honia?
Yes.
Today, no, that's a very good question. Today, do we have things that are still dividing us? Yes, we have. Christianity itself, it has continued to divide us.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Christianity itself has continued to divide us. Even today, Monde posted on the forum, for instance, he says the Western world convinced us that it is evil to be in a polygamous relation, to be a polygamist. Okay? They convinced us and we've believed, yes, polygamy is a sin and it is bad.
Yes.
The same people have convinced us that homosexuality, okay,
Yes.
is a human right. Now that, okay.
Yeah.
So when you
Division
look at
is
the
there.
two, polygamy and the homosexuality, tell me which one is better? The one that you are declaring evil and the one you are declaring a human right. So these are things that have continued dividing us as Africans.
So
Okay,
Ngungi is saying the river will incessantly flow. It will incessantly be flowing. That's what you are insinuating, Chief.
Yes, to an extent, yes.
Yeah, continue. We can kill each other, we can tear ourselves, but life will never come to a standstill. Life, the river, will still continue flowing. That's what we are being taught in this book.
Thank you.
Because the river, you know, that has divided them has continued flowing. People circumcise, people baptize in the river. Okay, meaning traditionalists and Christians are alike. They are in the river. I mean, they are there conducting their rituals in the river, and the river washes away their sins. The river washes away their blood. The river does everything. They are there, and the river continues. They are busy tearing each other. Life will never come to a standstill. That is the lesson that Ngungi is trying to teach us here.
Okay, Doc. Doctor.
Can we wind up this debate?
Okay. the whole issue is we see this literature of hybridity coming into play here. Those that crossed over to the other side of the ridges and embraced Christianity, they developed an identity that was hybrid in nature. So we see the literature of hybridity coming. But again, even when we talk about the literature of hybridity, we should also look at that when the Europeans came to Africa, as the chief was saying, they condemned everything that was African and said it was barbaric. If they find someone who is making hoes, axes, using iron, they say, don't call him an engineer, it will be too advanced term for them. Instead, they are blacksmith.
Yeah.
When you treat diseases.
Blacksmith.
Yes, blacksmith. When you treat the diseases using herbs and whatever, they said, no, this is barbaric, it's backward. These are not doctors. They are witch doctors or herbalists.
This cannot be.
Yes. So this, if you look at African literature, yes, you look at African literature, even in Houseboy, this is what Toundi, the main character,
Toundi, yes.
Toundi is asking Houseboy. He's saying, as Africans who have been Europeanized, who are we? Because we are not identified as Africans, we are not identified also as Europeans. Who are we? So you find that it's the same question that is ringing through all the African writers. Maria Maba, in So Long a Letter, we talk about, Hara. We talk about all of them. They ask the same question. So Brian has the answer that Africa can only advance by African methods and the things that are African in nature. So this issue of hybridity is at the center of confusions, and partly is Western education and also Christianity.
Let's allow Mr. Banda Masauso to speak.
Yes, Mr. Banda, go ahead.
Yes,
Mr. Banda. Mr. Banda.
Maybe you can drop the questions in the chat.
Type the question, Mr. Banda, type the questions. We can't get you. Mr. Banda, type your questions, please. Maybe as he's typing, I have another question, Dr. Muleya.
Yes.
Mutoni.
Yes.
Where does she belong in this river between? Is she a Makuyan or a Kamenoyan? A Kamenoan?
Okay.
Actually,
Okay,
she is both. Sorry, let me take that question.
Okay, Chief, yes.
Mutoni is both. Mutoni is both. Mutoni is not different from Wayaki. Mutoni is very clear. She says, I want to be both. I'm an African who have embraced Christianity, but Christianity should not change me into what I'm not. I will
Yes.
remain an African. So she is both. Actually, when you look at Mutoni, she's I liken myself to her. Most of us are Mutonis.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Lazaro. I'm not Lazarus. I'm an Amwanga Lazaro. I've embraced Christianity. I've embraced Christianity. Yes, I'm a Christian, and you can attest to that. But I'm also an African and a traditionalist. When things go bad, there are certain things that are supposed to be purely African. When I wrong my aunt, okay, and she says bad words about me, I will know no peace. I will not go to church and start worshiping in the name of whatever. No, I'll have to go the traditional way, go back to my aunt and kunkul and say, no, lie down and buy whatever ritualistic clothes to give and whatever, appease chickens and whatever. That is being an African. Let us be realistic here.
I hear
Dr.
you.
Muleya, US, come in.
Yes, let me say something. In fact,
Yes.
between the regions, she belongs to the river.
Exactly, exactly.
That's my immediate answer. She belongs to the river, not to any of the regions. Why? Because she's partly Kameno, she's partly Makuyu. And this is what, that's why I brought the issue of hybridity in literature.
Yes.
Where you ask Christians who have, ask African Christians who have embraced Christianity. We have developed two types of identities. We are Africans, but also in another way, we are identified as Westerners. In the manner that we have lived and the way we also take our life. So that's where hybridity comes in. During the post-colonial era, those that accepted the colonizers and worked with them. This is where Taundi is asking to say, who are we? Because they cannot identify themselves as Africans and also as Europeans. So he
if it were in America, we call them the mulattoes. Those who are neither
yes.
white or Africans.
Yes, the mulattoes, yes.
Yes.
Check Masauso has written something, Chief.
The Okos and Clementines of Song of Lawino.
Yes. That's a good one.
Yes. Now I'm using, where do I go? I'm using, okay. That's okay. There is a question here. My first question is, what makes these two regions to be at loggerheads? I think this one has been taken. Do we agree that Wayaki had serious lacunas in his leadership? If yes, why? That's Masauso. Now, can we close this meeting? I'm signing out.
Hello.
I'm in the middle of the bush. Can we sign out? Can we close the meeting, please? And probably let us allow this debate the next week. The first few minutes, we can allow this debate to conclude it, I suggest. Because it appears this, sorry?
I'm almost suggesting that the next week we conclude by bringing a lot of questions as the audience. Then Dr. Muleya has to answer all of them in our hearing as we support on the same text.
Okay, so
we come with questions.
As moderator, I think let me take this opportunity really to announce that next Sunday, we are going to continue with this presentation so that all of us should go and research on the questions that have been raised and haven't adequately been handled, as well as bring in more other questions so that we can have a deep understanding of the interpretation of this text. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Next Sunday, let's make a date so that we can have from the onset a plenary session on this text, so that we can have a deeper understanding of it and analysis and understanding of it. Let's make a date next Sunday, same time, 17 hours.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. We'll meet on Sunday next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.